My name is Billington. Billy to my friends, meaning, of course, my business friends. I sell cork. Take a good look at me. Do I look as if I knew the meaning of the phrase work and play? Well, I certainly didn't at the time. My aim was to sell more cork than anyone else had ever done in the history of salesmanship. In a few minutes' time, I'm going to clean up Oslo, the capital of Norway. Note that I don't even glance out of the window, even though this is my first visit to the country. Business, my friends, is not a round of pleasure or a series of beautiful landscapes, or, as I was saying, business is not a series of beautiful landscapes. My life, in fact, was dedicated to cork. It was my proud boast that I had never taken a day off from cork since I grew up. I had only one single idea in my head, how to do as much business as possible before the offices shut down for the weekend. A highly laudable aim. Good heavens, is this a sort of local national costume? Little did I know that from now on I had been cast in the role of clown. But the fact is that I, the firm's ace international salesman, suddenly discovered that I had forgotten how to handle a toy. This was only the beginning. On my way to the hotel, I couldn't help wondering what sort of a country this was. People seemed to be so completely preoccupied with snow. I began to wonder, had I got my trade curves and export statistics all mixed up? However was I going to sell cork in a country where all the people, and the dogs too, wore this strange national costume? In fact, I was soon convinced that everyone was crazy. And that it would prove very difficult to get anyone to take a decent interest in cork. My fears were well founded. But nothing in the world would stop Armitage Billington. At least, so I thought. But now I have different ideas. Next morning, I discovered to my horror that I was the only living soul in the world. It was Sunday. The capital had obviously been evacuated, and I had been forgotten. And then I saw her, my airborne enchantress. I! Where's she disappeared to? I set off in pursuit, conscious that I was cutting rather a ridiculous figure. In fact, I felt rather like the kid who can't play with the other children because he's such an awkward lout. And what did I see? People on these wooden plank things, dashing madly down to certain destruction. had competitions in this form of madness. Then I spotted her again. Hi, Gerd! What do I do now? How does the elephant catch the gazelle? Never say die. Armitage Billington is not the man to admit defeat. There was nothing I could not do once I'd set my heart on it. I was not used to being cast in the role of clown. In plain words, I did what no man before me had ever dared to do. I hazarded life and limb more times per yard than even Norway's Olympic champion, the great Stein Eriksen, ever did on this self-same slope during the Olympic Winter Games. This is where he learned to ski. I learnt to fall. Now, my friends, the miracle had happened. I had recaptured my long-lost childhood, and I made my way to the happy haunts of other carefree kids. The doctors, I dare say, would put it all down to a mild case of concussion. I was no longer a dried-up cork on the ocean of life. For the first time in my existence, I had a hobby. And I had a veritable gang of assistants to help me reach my goal, which was to catch up with my fleet-footed gazelle. Little did I guess that she was actually laughing at me from behind a tree. She admitted as much when she showed me round the world's oldest ski jump, the famous Holmenkollen Hill. Its museum, too, is the oldest in the world, and I went round it because Billy is not the man to do things by halves. If I was ever going to be a skier, I should have to study the business from the very start. And here was proof, indeed, that I was in the cradle of skiing. Traditions going back long before the Viking era 1,000 years ago. While less fortunate mortals were still padding around on snowshoes, the Norwegians were organizing long-distance and slalom races and ski jumping competitions. And in the 19th century, they introduced skiing to countries all over Europe and North America. Famous explorers such as Nansen and Amundsen used skis to reach the North and the South Pole. And to date, Norwegians have won more Olympic skiing titles than any other nation. My mind was made up. One fine day, I vowed, I was going to be able to keep up with my swift sweetie. Just you wait. I had actually discovered where she was going to spend her holiday, so from now on, I realized that every second was precious. I laid my plan with great care. I tackled the problem with strategic guile. Cork had now been forgotten, to be replaced by ski wax. This proved a rewarding study, but by the time I had finished, it held no mysteries for me. Powder snow, wind slab, breaking crust, spring snow, I had them all taped. The only question was simply, shall I meet my Alamein or my Waterloo? My plan involved the use of cunning, and when the critical moment arrived, I should inflict an overwhelming and unexpected victory. Ha-ha! If she only knew what was round the corner. My secret weapon was private lessons on a secluded slope with a female instructor. And let me tell you this, I, who had hardly used my arms and legs for years, now became as fit as a fiddle. Just watch the way it's done. Weight well forward. I admit I didn't sleep much. I hadn't time. Besides, my bed was a splendid training ground. And another thing, I only dreamed of the day when I need no longer skulk in remote corners, when I could swoop down towards her like some young god descending from the mountains. Exactly, like a young god. Whoops-a-daisy, this is it! Well, there's time for another run. Bill is going through with this plan, and no mistake. Of course, I never knew the lady who'd caused this ski frenzy was watching me as I trained. I was, in fact, being trailed. Hi, Gerd. Fancy meeting you. Excuse my style. And now, my friends, we are rapidly approaching the climax of this modern saga. Let us admit that Gerd had decorked me for life. But does that infer that I'm about to unfold a happy ending for all concerned? If that's what you want to know, I can only say, wait and see. Happy days went by, in sun and snow, with Gerd at my side, or usually a little way in front. What a girl, what a country, what a life. If you fondly imagine that a Norwegian lass is to be won by gifts of chocolate and nylons, you're as mistaken as I was. Because I must now reveal her secret weapon. She told me that in Norway, all young men must prove their manliness. The test consists of skiing down a precipice selected by the beloved, or defying death in a ski jump of her choosing. And here you see a collection of young Norwegian wooers in the act of getting engaged. This sort of ordeal demands Viking blood, and I wasn't sure if I had enough of it. This question kept me awake at night, and my bed became a sort of cradle of skiing. And my nights a continuous ski lift that seemed to take me higher and higher and higher, with no chance of making an escape. You see what I mean? And now I'm sure you'll understand still better. Seriously, there were moments when I longed to get back to my samples of cork, even though Gerd was standing down the slope, beautiful and merciless. No, that's not her. Further to the left. Just a bit more. That's right. 1,000 foot below me. And now it just remains for me to thank all my business associates and connections at home and abroad for their kindness in the years that have gone. I don't want them to feel sorry for me. I'm happier than I've ever been, but as scared as hell. Goodbye. My goodness. I'm alive! Life's wonderful! If you knew how I felt! I'm flying! I'm a ruddy bird! I'm a skier! I'm almost there! Let me hasten to assure you that Gerd and I are still the best of friends. She's undoubtedly glad I fell where I did, and I am happy that I'm no longer simply Billy the cork salesman, but Billy the skier. Now I'll show 'em how to sell cork, but not to Norwegians, of course. Billy the skier.